well, you're watching this. That means it's the 4th of July. We're recording this before the 4th of July, so we don't really know what's going to happen during the 4th of July, but I thought it might be a little bit different this year. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle here with Steve Green and Scott Ott. It's your right angle on our national birthday and some of the differences that we might be seeing this particular year. I've spent the last 4th of July's, 3 or 4 of them here at home in California and had a fun time, but I had been this year particularly very much looking forward to going back to my undisclosed location, which is back in the United States in America, and having a real 4th of July there. And we had planned to go, but my wife decided that she didn't feel comfortable going, and she said she didn't feel comfortable going because she didn't know what was going to happen in Los Angeles on the 4th of July. And I thought, my God, she's absolutely right. During the height of the George Floyd disturbances, boarded up windows, not destroyed windows, but boarded up windows, got to within about a half a mile of where I live. And I decided that, no, I don't want to leave my house unattended on the 4th of July in Los Angeles, given the climate that's out there now. Statues being defaced, calls to just, it's a revolution. It's a counter-revolution, actually, is what it is. But guys, here's what I wanted to talk to you about. This election is doubling down. Joe Biden announced that he wants to raise $4 trillion in additional taxes. The Democratic Party, the official tweet of the Democratic Party, said that Donald Trump would be holding a rally at Mount Rushmore, which was a celebration of white supremacy. That's what a 4th of July celebration at Mount Rushmore is: white supremacy over the Indians who feel like their land has been stolen from them, and so on and so on and so on. So what I'm getting at, guys, is the middle is rapidly evaporating, and there, it seems to me, Steve, we'll start with you. It seems to me that there's very little room left for you to be a patriotic, American-loving Democrat. I'm not saying those people don't exist. They exist in the millions. But their party has turned into the party of defund the police, the party of Chaz, the party of we're going to blow up Mount Rushmore, the party of we're going to pull down statues of Abraham Lincoln. This is who the Democrats are officially now. I'm not talking about outliers or AOC. I'm talking about the party. This is their position. And come November, I don't know where those patriotic Democrats are going to go.
It's funny you should mention Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, because she was the first person I thought of when you got to the end of your introduction. Remember, it was a more innocent time in 2018 when we thought she was an outlier, but it turns out she was just an election cycle ahead of the rest of her party.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And I mean the party, not the vast number of Democrats who are just decent Americans. That's an important point when you think about it. Being a Democrat was sort of an easy way to show that you were a good guy without having to actually be too involved in politics. Those other people are the racists. I'm a Democrat, which is sort of a get out of jail free card on racism. You didn't actually have to do anything to help poor people because you're a Democrat and your party does that for you through the government. It was a way to feel good about having the right beliefs without actually having to do the messy work of doing anything about them. And I'm not saying this to disparage people necessarily, because people do things in order to feel good. And I don't mean just, drink a lot because, I want to be drunk. I'm talking about you want to feel morally good about doing things. Yes. And we're also human beings, and so we tend towards laziness. And so, here's a party that says if I belong, that I care, and that I'm a good guy. All right, I want to be a part of that. Not these stern, Constitution-loving Republicans who say you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't spend that much. But what happens when the party elders, when the the counter-revolutionary vanguard of your party takes that get-out-of-jail-free card away? What happens to your whole belief system was, I'm a Democrat, I'm a good guy. Well, now your own party leaders have said that's not the case. You're a civil rights and injury attorney who's made a fortune so you can live in some gated mansion in St. Louis's Central West End. Doesn't matter anymore. Even if you wrote big checks to Bernie, because Antifa is going to come for you and tell you you're a racist.
You're talking about the guy with who had the guns defending his house. Yeah.
Yeah. All of these people, whether they're the very richest criminal attorneys, or I should say trial attorneys for the Democrats, or the very poorest who are finding out that being a Democrat in the city is no protection from the mob for the mom and pop business that they've strived their whole lives to keep afloat. Now it's been burned out and they may never go back. So your Democrat Party membership isn't worth what it used to be. It's not that security blanket it used to be. So what are you going to do in November?
That's the question. You know, Scott, I try to put myself in the shoes of these patriotic Democrats, and I think back to the days of the Tea Party. We were all three of us pretty active in that when it was really booming back in 2009 and the early 2010s, and we were called racist. And I remember thinking, I personally had seen. I'd interacted with tens of thousands of people. I did hundreds of events. And I've seen with my own eyes hundreds of thousands of people at Tea Party rallies, and I might have seen maybe one or two people who struck me as racist. And I remember clearly that progressives had to go to Tea Party events with racist posters to provide the evidence that Tea Partiers were racist, because there was no evidence of it that they could use otherwise. But here's what I'm getting at, Scott. If there had been actual genuine racism in the Tea Party movement, any sign of that, any whiff of it, people just immediately shuffled them right out of there. But if it turned out that there had been a great deal of racism, or even a handful of open racists in the Tea Party movement, I wouldn't have been speaking at Tea Party movement events. And you wouldn't have either. And you wouldn't have had either, Steve.
That's right. You
wouldn't have done it. You would have simply said, okay, look, I don't want my name and my face associated with an organization that does that. Doesn't mean I'm going to be a progressive, but it means I'm not going to be speaking at a Tea Party event if there's known racists in the audience. So do you think that this is getting through to people on the left, Scott? Do you think that there are people who are seeing what the Democratic Party, not what outliers are saying or radicals, but what the party's position is? Do you think that a lot of Democrats are going through that process now on the 4th of July saying, oh, so now I wave a flag and I get in a parade, and maybe I served in the military, and because I'm waving a flag on the 4th of July, I'm a white supremacist. I guess what I'm saying, Scott, is that Democrats are now being called racist and white supremacists for the first time because they love their country. And I didn't like it, and I haven't liked it for the last 15 years.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what anybody else is thinking. I do know this, that it's not the political middle that's disappearing. When early on in the conversation, we were talking about this, and it's this idea that everybody's becoming a political extremist, but it's not about politics. It's not about ideology. It's not about political philosophy. There's no serious discussion of issues and the underpinning philosophy that they're grounded in. It's really the civility middle that's disappearing. We're being chased off the common ground. It's gotten to the point where if you either declare yourself to be on one extreme or the other, or we have no place for you, you are anathema to us. And it's not because your political ideas are wrong. I would welcome a debate about that. I wish there was a debate about that, but there's none of that. It's really just branding people. It's basically declaring that people are anathema to American society. And both sides of this extreme push are doing this to the other side to make it impossible for us to have any kind of unified discussion. There's a lot of talk on Independence Day about the idea of the colonies breaking away from the mother country and declaring themselves independent. But I think what we often forget about that was that there was not just a breaking away, but there was a coming together. There was a bunch of independent colonies with and leaders who had different ideas, and people who lived in different cultures, basically saying we must unite or we will all surely perish. And I think that's what we've lost. And if anything, on Independence Day, I'd like to see equal play with the breaking away idea, meaning we break away from tyranny, and the coming together idea, meaning that somehow I have to find a way to work together with my neighbor, to talk to people who disagree with me, to find ways to unite on areas of common ground, and to listen enough to understand what the other person is saying. And frankly, I don't think that we could be any more divided if an outside force had spent millions of dollars a year to try to destroy this country, as there's some suggestion that Russia has been doing for a number of years. I think that in many cases, Vladimir Putin smiles at how little it costs to destroy the United States of America, how cheap it is because we're willing to do the work as subcontractors for him. I'm sick of it. I'm eager to get together with my neighbor. I have friends at work and who don't give a flying rip what political ideas I have. And I have friends at work who know what my political ideas are. And guess what? They're my friends at work. And we do not attack each other. We love each other. And that's what this country is supposed to be all about. And we work through ideas and have discussions about serious things, but always with that undercurrent of respect and dignity and love. And when we start getting back to that, we'll start being something that can be called one nation under God. We'll start being called something that was out of the many, one, because this idea of the United States of America cannot survive this kind of personal character assassination and division.
If you talk to these Antifa thugs who are talking about burning everything, they had a march on Jeff Bezos' house and they left a guillotine out front. Jeff Bezos, of course, left-winger. He thought that would protect him somehow. But the poster for this is one of the most appalling things I've ever seen. It's children walking from the fire hand in hand and walking out into a garden of flowers. And it says, abolish the present, reconstruct our future. And on the left, everything is burning. Burn everything down and we'll just start all over again. So these Antifa people who are in favor of this, they think they're revolutionaries. They call themselves revolutionaries and they think that they're launching a revolution. But they're not revolutionaries. They're counter-revolutionaries. The revolutionaries were the people who decided for the first time in history, maybe we should protect the individual. Maybe we should allow people to say what's on their mind. Maybe we should not allow other people to tell you what to do. Maybe we should make freedom and responsibility linked together. Maybe we should look at government as a servant of the people rather than their master. Those are the revolutionaries. What Antifa represents is a counter-revolutionary return to anarchy, violence, rule by law, intimidation, fear, and totalitarianism. And that counter-revolution will not succeed. It simply won't. There is an expression that Tom Wolfe used called radical chic. And I've come to believe that reality in America, looking at the last 50, 60, 70 years, I've come to look at reality kind of like a comet. It's like a comet that reappears every 20 or 30 years or so. And then it sails away off into space and nobody pays any attention to it. And just when you think everything's going fine, all of a sudden the sky's on fire and everybody's running around with their hair on fire and everybody's terrified because reality comes back. I don't think you can maintain radical chic anymore if you're a run-of-the-mill Democrat. You support Black Lives Matter, and there is a cause to be supported there. But when you see statues being pulled down, when you see buildings being looted, when you see all of this anarchy and all of this accusations of nationalism and supremacy because you simply celebrating the culture that you were born in, that is putting people in a very, very tough place. I can see how you can be a Beverly Hills radical progressive until they smash the windows at the Louis Vuitton store on Rodeo Drive, and until you find that they're a block or two away from your house and you're calling your conservative friends to see if they have any guns that they can lend you. Reality is back on the scene now. And Scott's right. This nation is enormously kind and civil to each other. But I'd like to just close with what Scott said. The motto of America, the entire founding idea of America, and the reason for America's success is e pluribus unum, out of many one. People from around the world come here. They have an idea. America's not a country. It's not territory. It's an idea. And out of many people, some of them are called to come here, and out of many, there is one. And this has become the greatest force for freedom in the history of the world and the most successful experiment in human history. People who believe in tyranny, people who want people to be slaves, and people who want to tell other people what to do, see America, rightfully, as their great obstacle. And they see that the strength of America is out of many one, e pluribus unum. And it's occurred to them that the only way they can beat America is not by beating America from the outside. You can't beat America from the outside. Abraham Lincoln said that a giant could stride across the Atlantic and never take a drink out of the Ohio River. It's going to come from within. So what the people who hate America are doing is they've decided to take out of many one and turn it into out of one many. There's no longer a nation. There's no longer an America. There's Black America. There's gay America. There's progressive America. There's police America. There's racist America. And it's no longer a country. It's a series of tribes at war with each other. And it's been a very, very big success. The idea that I can't go visit friends on the 4th of July because I'm worried about my property being vandalized on that day is a sickening thought. But at the same time, I say to myself, okay, well, if they want to try something, 4th of July is as good a day as any. There are people out there, millions of us, all of us watching this, who will defend this American revolution. We will defend this revolution of freedom and individuality. And if it turns out that the people who are opposed to these ideas want to launch July 4th as a day to go and burn things, the time is going to come when the people who believe in the American Revolution are going to defend it. And I think that's going to happen. But I don't think it's going to happen with AR-15s. I think it's going to happen behind closed curtains in voting booths all across this country. And I think it is going to be the kind of sound that is only made when large, large bodies of normally cold water are finally, over the course of 15 or 20 years, brought to a boil. And that whistle of anger and anger will make itself heard, I think, on the first Tuesday in November. In any event, I hope it's a quiet and safe 4th of July for everybody. But no one's beaten us yet. And if you think a bunch of these scarf-wearing punks who are tearing down statues they don't even know the names of, if you think we beat the communists, we beat the Nazis, we beat the Japanese, we beat much, much tougher people than these spoiled brats with their terrorist chic costumes. Have a great 4th, everybody. Yeah. These role players out there, these cosplayers calling themselves Antifa are not a threat to this country. And as long as we maintain our civility and our willingness to disagree, they never will be. For Steve Green and Scott Ott, I'm Bill Whittle. Happy 4th of July. We'll see you next time right here on Right Angle.